Heyo Outliers, Meg Lowman is the arbornaut National Geographic named the real life Lorax, one of the first human beings ever to climb into the canopy of a tree and discover that half the species on this planet live in the tops of trees. She's built walkways and saved forests around the world. Now she wants to save 100 more and fast because half the planet's forests have vanished in her lifetime. She's the scientist, the storyteller, and the one who goes up in the tree. So what happens when the woman who did it all first realizes the next 100 forests will take almost none of what made her the first? Let's get into the room and find out. Oh, hello there, Outliers. Niiamah and Sean here. And thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey here today. Today, we get a chance to have a co-creation conversation with someone who takes things to new heights and continues to build out from there. In fact, I am very excited to be in co-creation with none other than Meg Lowman. Meg, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for answering the Outlier call. I'm really excited to co-create with you today.
Thank you. This should be fun, and I'm excited to share a few stories and visions.
All right, let's go and play, right? So Meg, let's dive in here. I want to make sure Outliers get a chance to see like the game you're playing here. So would you mind letting us know more about you and the Outlier game you're playing?
Sure. So I am an explorer, an author, a scientist, a mom, and I guess a disruptor because I focus on forest conservation of mostly endangered tropical rainforests and any other forests that are currently being lost to the next generation, which represents quite a lot. National Geographic nicknames me the real live Lorex. And the Wall Street Journal called me the Einstein of the treetops. So I guess that encapsulates a little bit of my reputation that I am one of the first people in the world that climb trees, believe it or not, to figure out that half of the species in the planet lives in the top of a tree, which means medicines and food and all sorts of important products and pollinators and things that really keep our kids healthy. So I'm very dedicated to trying to make sure that the next generation has a healthy life, including my own kids. So that motivates me a lot to keep going. I am technically an arbornaut. Astronauts explore outer space. Aquanauts go underwater, and arbonauts are those few of us that actually have explored the top of a tree. I say that because it's so crazy that right above our heads, none of us ever knew that half the species in the planet lived up there, or that trees literally keep us alive. So that for me has been a huge motivation of bringing this world above our heads into education, into policy, into corporate worlds, and trying very hard to share the importance of saving forests for the future of our planet. So enough said. I'm the speaker for the trees, so that they are silent and I am noisy.
Oh, Meg, this is so so incredible, and thanks for making the noise around this here. I like as we're talking, I'm learning new things. Like I've never even thought about so arbornaut in general. Like that's a new word for me. But the element of like half the species on the planet are up in the trees, like also a new concept for me. Like just never really thought about it. And so I'm like as you're saying this, I'm taking in some things where it's like you get some really simple things about life that most other people don't even like begin to see, even though it's all around us. But you're able to see that. How does that feel? Pretty accurate there when I say that?
Yes, it's so accurate. And what's so crazy is for over 100 years, foresters cut trees down. They only ever saw the bottom 6 feet of a tree, and they only saw the top when it was lying on the ground, which meant the bugs were squished, the birds flew away. We never knew it was this treasure trove of life until passively I and a couple others climbed up there to see the life at the top. I always can feel like it's sort of like going to Times Square on New Year's Eve, but if you don't know what's up there or you don't know what's happening, you're just so surprised at all the action at the top of a tree. It's pretty crazy and wonderful.
Yeah, this is it's fascinating to me. You also bring in Times Square. I lived in New York for a decade, so like I know what it's like to be in New Year's and not know that all of that is happening just blocks away. And so you're getting me to rethink right now. Not like I'm going to invite you to think about like trees in particular right? Because this is my domain, but also just like where else in our life right now are we seeing things at a seeing the 6 foot that we get a chance to see and thinking it's the whole entire thing when there's a whole ecosystem, there's a whole nother world that's living above it, figuratively speaking.
Absolutely true. In fact, I call trees a big condominium where,
Mhm.
the penthouse is the happening place. There's a lot of people at the top as well as at the bottom, but it's a really surprising feature of trees that they are these incredible houses for so many important organisms. I'm talking about millions, maybe 100 million. The crazy thing is we don't even know how many because so few people have ever adventured into the top of a tree.
So now I want to talk to you a little bit about your leadership overall here. So like you've now opened up the world of the top trees here. I'm smiling. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of Avatar, but like recently, and so I have a different connection with trees, and like it's been bringing me back to them. But I want to talk about now about like how you showed up as a leader in this year because you like there's a real mission behind this. It's not just like, hey, I think people should know about this. Like you're really activating change. So tell us about like when you made that transition from like, oh, okay, hey, it's I'm exploring this and just so I know to like actually no, I have to actually go out and like be active in my leadership around it.
So I guess I started loving trees at age 3. I never was a leader. I was a very geeky, shy kid, but I loved nature. And let's think about it. But trees never talked back. They never bullied me. So I could go out into the woods and explore. And that was my whole life as a child was playing outdoors. And I really have dedicated a lot of my adult profession to getting kids back into nature, which is also a great thing to do, teaching kids to climb trees, doing things with kids and trees. But over the years, when I was young, I was told girls can't be scientists. Girls really can't do anything outdoorsy. So that was always disappointing to my generation. But I just quietly kept studying trees and working on trees. And lo and behold, when I got a scholarship to do graduate work on tropical rainforests in Australia, my advisor said, if you're interested in trees, you need to study the whole tree, not just the bottom. And I kind of panicked. I thought, oh, I'll train a monkey. That would be fantastic. And that could climb up the tree and bring me back the seeds and the flowers and the leaves. So my advisor said, not a chance. I think you need to go up there yourself. So I actually invented a toolkit to climb trees. I made a slingshot out of a piece of metal and some old tire rubber, and I sewed a harness out of seatbelt webbing, and I borrowed a rope, and I figured out how to get up a tree, and that was fantastic. But I had to do it all by myself. And a few years later, I was working at an ecotourist lodge in a forest, and together with the owner, we said, wouldn't it be cool if 20 people could go up the tree at once? And we designed on the back of a napkin, we sketched this little canopy bridge between trees that would it be great if we had a pathway in the treetops. So the first canopy walkway was designed by me and this guy in Queensland, Australia. And I came back to the States and I built one in Florida and I built one in Massachusetts. And all of a sudden it was more inclusive, kids in wheelchairs and adults with walkers and little babies in strollers could get into the treetops without risking their lives on a rope with a harness. So over the years, I've become very determined that people learn about trees because if they don't learn about them, they don't want to save them. So it's really important to get people up there to see all the cool things going on in the top of a tree. So that led me into a lot of leadership positions. A, designing canopy access. B, becoming a museum director a few times to share environmental education with diverse audiences. And C, writing a book or two. Actually, I've written 14 books, and my memoir called The Arbornaut, not surprising to you, is all about what I call my misadventures, all the problems I suffered being a woman in science so that maybe the next generation can do better than me. And I've, chaired international conferences. I've taught hundreds of young people to climb trees. So my whole life is kind of focused on getting the message out there because if you don't know what a tree does for your health, why would you want to save it?
I think this is a good time for us to capture some things. I'm going to speak to outliers here right now. That I want you to I'm going to actually ask you to do what I call an outsight in just a bit. But outliers, like some of what I'm getting from you, Meg. Rather than talking to them, I'll just talk to you. But like some of what I get about you is that you're someone who recognized at a young age what you're like really into, and regardless of what the stories were around other people, like your outlier came to be by continuing to incubate it and continue to say yes to yourself all the way through. And I asked you this question about how did it get into leadership and so on and so forth, and you're like the seed was actually back then, and it was never given up on what was important to you the entire time. And like as I'm hearing it right now, I'm seeing how you lived a lifetime to get to this point, and I really just I want to acknowledge you in it. I really love the push of the press. Like you have to get up to the trees, you have to get to the top. Like don't just do the bottom. It's fun to hear it now, but like when you said like you panicked, like I actually think about that. I'm like now you do it. You like it's a totally different world for you. But like before then, that wasn't there. And you literally had to go and create a way to go and to get yourself up there. Um, so I get that. I get that things don't stop you. That when you have your eye on something, it's gonna like you're gonna keep working towards it, and that you're gonna literally like create pathways both for yourself and for others in order to be successful with it. Right? Meg, this is I'm glad we spent some time on this here. It's fascinating. It's exhilarating. And it's also really important. So for any outlier that's listening to this that wants to go deeper down the journey, wants to learn more of themselves, wants to like find ways to partner with you, whatever it is that's out there. What are the best ways for them to go and do that?
Sure. Oh, thanks for asking that. So I have a pretty extensive website, www.canopymeg.com. My nickname is Canopy Meg, which was given to me by thousands of children because I've done so many virtual expeditions with National Geographic where they film me and then I'm back in the classroom, and that was fun over many years of experience. I have a foundation called Tree Foundation, and there's a website there, www.treefoundation.org. And I started the foundation because I wanted to build a canopy walkway for the public in Florida. And the best way to do anything in the US for fundraising purposes is to have a nonprofit that gives people a tax deduction. So we did that for the first public canopy walkway in North America, which is down here near my hometown of Sarasota, Florida, in the state park called Myakka River State Park. Now, that walkway generated $30 million in regional revenue through hotels and visitors. It attracted 500,000 visitors a year. It's so cool. It's still going strong, but that gave me the second seed in my life of saying, holy cow, all sorts of countries could benefit from ecotourism through the excitement of the treetops. Places like Peru and Ethiopia and Madagascar, where people can't afford conservation in those countries. They can't afford to pay for a canopy walkway or create a national park and build trails and hire rangers. They're trying to feed their families. So now my tree foundation has grown bigger, and we have a new big project called Mission Green, where we're trying to save the 10 most important forests in the world, because all that biodiversity is really our future, our kids' future. And by building these walkways, believe it or not, we can hire Indigenous women who get jobs from ecotourism, like running lodges and cooking and becoming guides. And we can also persuade locals not to cut the trees down for income, but to save the trees for a better income, a more sustainable income. And thirdly, we can have this cool thing in the treetops that students can go to and make all sorts of discoveries, because everything in the canopy is new. So if you're a young student and you get to discover something new, how cool is that? So we're building these walkways through the Tree Foundation in a project called Mission Green. So those are the ways ways that anyone can find me. And I'm dreaming of donors that want to support their region's forests. I'm dreaming of corporate donors that would like to name a walkway after themselves or their company, because that is just such a wonderful thing for the next generation, and obviously for their annual reports and whatever kinds of tax deductions they might need for their profits. We have a beautiful walkway in Malaysia built by a food company, a big corporate sponsor, and it is fabulous. And every single day, I know they are cheering and celebrating, and I keep in touch with the owner, the CEO a lot, and they're so, so happy about the product that they produced for all the visitors to Malaysia. So there's lots of ways to contact me. And you can also get some of my books and read them to your children or read them to yourself and learn a little bit more about why on earth you should save a tree.
Well, outliers, we have Meg. Firstly, thank you for this. Like it made me smile as you're going through. Thank you for the dedication that you bring to what you do, and like on behalf of us who didn't even know that you were out there crusading on our behalf, and our future here. I really want to acknowledge you and thank you for that. Outliers, we have our charge. Let's be a part of this mission. Let's go out and do our part to continue to grow and make something really major come from this year. All right. Awesome, Meg. So what we're going to do now, Meg, I'm going to switch hats here, and we're going to put outliers over to the side for the rest of the conversation. All right. They've already gotten a lot from you as it's come in terms of with everything you brought in so far, and now this next part of the conversation is for you. Right. And they'll be able to see what it's like for someone who's already out in the world creating as much as you're creating. What are the things that you're taking through, and how are you navigating through that going forward? Right. For this part of the conversation, we're going to switch to coaching. I don't know where it's going to go. And like, if we get to the end of this and we're like, we don't need to release it, we won't. Okay. But are you cool in the conversation if I hide nothing and hold nothing back?
Absolutely. Go for it.
All right, cool. And then from here on out, like I'm here to serve you rather than please or platform you. Are you good with that?
Yes.
All right, cool. And I have a track record of having life-changing conversations. It's like the only thing I want to do. And for what you're up to in the world, anything less than life-changing wouldn't be fun, and it wouldn't honor it. It wouldn't honor it, right? And I recognize like it doesn't need to just be life-changing for you. It could be life-changing for others. Okay. And positively so. So are you open to this being a positive, life-changing conversation?
Yes.
Okay, so with that lit there as I was going to say as our floor, but now that I say that, I'm like, well, that's like looking at the bottom 6 feet of the tree. Like it's blowing my mind that thought there, right? Let's take this up to the top. If this was going to be a life changing conversation for you, what would we need to talk about?
I'd love to talk about how to ramp this project up. 10 walkways is fantastic. Saving 10 forests is fantastic, but we probably need to save 100 forests. And we need to do it fast because half of the primary forests in the world have disappeared in my lifetime. That's not a good track record. And unfortunately, most people like me are trained as scientists, not to communicate, not to make budgets, not to be economic in terms of how we fund something very easily. So, in other words, the training doesn't really equal the end game in my world, because we get rewarded to publish some technical paper in a scientific journal that you probably have never read and never will read. So, how do we marry the world's need to save forests with the technical people like me that are trained in why we should save them? It just isn't matching too well.
If you're a leader with a track record of success and there's a vision you're ready to bring to life that feels outrageous right now, I have an invitation for you. Outliers Edge is a world for different minded, like hearted leaders who are owning what makes them different to make a world of difference. And at the center of that world is a weekly coaching room where we bring the visions that just won't leave us alone. We get coached, stay accountable, and build alongside others, creating something different. If you're pursuing something that's too big, too early, or too improbable for most rooms, this is your room. Go to outliersedge.com/world and come in as my guest. Yeah. Okay. So let's play with this here. As I'm listening to this, and I'll say this off the bat, Meg, I don't have the answers, but I think that you do. And so let's just jam and see what happens. You good with that? Okay. I heard two things here around what would make this life changing. One of them was like a 10x element. You're like, we got the 10, like we're gonna be working towards that, but like how do we get 10 times more of that? And underneath that, I was like, but she's gonna want 10 times more than that after like we're really going for how do we save them all, right? Like that was one
Right.
thing that was really coming in here. We'll do one step at a time. I hear that one level at a time. I don't think there's actually steps, one level at a time. Uh, but I know that if we can figure out something here, it's more about how do we continue to do more. So that's one thing that was coming. And then the other thing that I heard is that like how do we do more faster? So it's not just like okay, like yeah, I'm seeing nods from you. Does that feel true?
Right. Correct.
All right. One of the things you just brought in here, and it might be the place that we go down, it might be some other area here, but you talked about like other people like you who know what's happening. They're really technically minded, and that the reward system for them is to be technical. All right. And so when you were saying that, the thought to me came to like, okay, so like where are the partners in this here? One, and like is there a way to change or expand the reward system along the way?
Right.
Those are the two things that were coming to me here. um I know you put a lot of thought towards this, so tell me right now, with the things that you've thought up with, where do you find yourself like continuously running into a wall on?
So, for example, I'd love to tap into business schools. Those are the people that will go out and have checkbooks with their companies looking for good projects for greater global good, but maybe not always thinking about Mother Nature as part of that portfolio. So, some way to get an inroad to those future leaders would be really important to me. The second one, obviously, is policymakers, a bit more daunting because it's not clear what the pathway really might be, and how those kinds of decisions are made. Governments change, and it's not always the best way to save a forest is to go what we call top-down conservation through a president or a Senate or a Congress is not going to really save the forest probably as effectively as what we call bottom up, where I'm hiring women to run canopy walkways and they live there and they are therefore really dedicated to saving their forests. But something in that funding chain has to become a really powerful mechanism to get these projects off the ground because I can't do it all. I'm an explorer, I'm a writer, I've been able to bring the toolkit to the attention of this problem, but I can't really in 24 hours a day ramp up the marketing of it. And so I just need some help in thinking through how can we get this project out there to the business world and to the philanthropic world.
Yeah. As you say this here, this like um I'm hearing a couple of different things. One of them being that in terms of effectiveness, it tends to be like bottom up tends to be like the more effective thing to like long-term sustainability. However, the funding to even get us into position of that like tends to come from more top-down component, whether it's coming through the governments or coming through like organizations that are funded sending things through. Let me just check and make sure that I'm seeing that
That's
right.
right.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So like you like what has I'm curious, like what has worked for you? Because you are like an explorer, an arbornaut, like a scientist, like, and yet at the same time you've been able to create quite a lot out there. Like what has actually been the things that's worked for you? And maybe instead of talking about it globally, like what's worked, um, let's look at like either the one that set it all off, or like
Yeah.
your favorite project where you're like, oh wait, this partnership really made a big difference.
Right. So the first project, as I mentioned here in Florida, to build a public canopy walkway, the first one in North America, is down in Florida outside of Sarasota, where in the year 1999, the whole downtown association and some of the community businessmen said to me, you built one in Australia. Why don't you build one here? We want to have it. So we designed it. It was going to cost $150,000. We had four small grants from local foundations, each for 20,000 bucks. So that equals 80. And we raised the other uh, $70,000 through seriously $100 gifts from schools where I went and gave talks, Rotary clubs, teachers that did bake sales with their kids, locals who wanted to give their, anniversary gift to their grandparents by giving them $100 plaque on the walkway. We put little signs up on each board thanking the donors. So that took me 2 full years really of actions to get the money. And then it took 2 weeks to build, which is fantastic. Nothing wrong with that. But if we were to ramp up building a walkway in every community and taking 2 years to fundraise $100 at a time, we can't really do what we need to do to make the forests of the world viable for our children and grandchildren. So that's where we need to think harder about better pathways. We can still engage people, which is fantastic, but I mentioned the one in Malaysia, for example, where one company wrote the check, which was so fantastic because then we could focus on the signage, the education, the actual construction. Another cool example is I've been saving forests in Ethiopia, even without a canopy walkway. I've had raised $331,000. I just added it up from schools where I talk to schools and they go into a bake sale or a penny drive. Over the last 10 years, though, we've done that to help. We have saved over 100 forests in Ethiopia just by building stone walls around the forest because they don't have the infrastructure yet to operate a canopy walkway. So that's fantastic and it's engaged thousands of kids. But we need faster and better to keep up with the pace of deforestation. These kind of wonderful giving projects by average people probably won't keep up with the agricultural and corporate world that's burning and cutting forests at a huge rate to do things like grow soy or create palm oil industry or do cattle. We need farming and we need logging for timber, but we need it to be controlled so that the important spots like the Louvre museums of the biological world and the Library of Congress of the biological world are going to get saved first. We need to earmark those really important places and save them, maybe with a canopy walkway construction that allows the local people to earn income.
Yeah. Okay. This is great. Like, and I'm just thinking about the early part of the conversation. You're like, it was $150,000 investment for this first one that later on, like, it brought in 30 mil over essentially the last 30 years. So like a
Right,
$1 million
exactly.
return year after
Mhm.
year after year from that right there. Okay. So as we're talking through this, what it feels like for me, from what I'm hearing from you, is like, hey, look, the strategy now is like we can keep getting essentially uh, a donor, sorry, a corporate organization to fund each walkway here. We would be good if we can get like each walkway one at a time. Like that would actually like change the game significantly. Does that sound right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Cool. So let's keep playing with. So I'll say two things that are in my mind right now, Meg, because the as we talk, there's a real like uh, a real understanding that I'm like, you've done so much, you've done so many things. Like you're like this is not like an idea that you want to have fun. You're actually out there already going with it. So I'm trying to look at it and saying like, where are the marginal questions that Meg maybe hasn't asked herself, rather than like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? That is not going to be this conversation. That will not be of support to you in
Uh-huh.
this way,
I
right?
got you.
Yeah. So like what's coming to me is I'm looking at this from like all right, what are pathways that haven't been explored yet? um and but then I like, you also hear me like in my head thinking like, oh, but I think the more direct path is like, let's say like the business path and such. Well, one of the things that was interesting to me right at the very beginning is when you were talking about like there are others out there like you, right? But one of the things that strikes me, Meg, is that every time, like every sentence you say, as much as you're like, I can live up in the trees, is really like it is grounded and rooted, right? There's not a part of your conversation where the language doesn't turn into some like, doesn't point out like the ROI that's involved with it, the real practical ways that this takes place. And I'm wondering what it would be like if you weren't the only one, like I'm saying the only one, like But like if you're able to um, better ignite or better support your fellow Arbonauts to be able to be as successful as you are in the movement of like and translating this to bringing others on board. This may not even fit with the model that you have, so like
Mm.
challenge me on that there. But there was something there where I was like, all right, Meg's really 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 good at this. And like and being a messenger of this, and you're like, I'm not even trying to be like, like this is not my background. So what I wanted to check in on that. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah.
What does that bring up for
So
you?
yes, and yes, I'm really thinking hard about a succession plan. In fact, I leave for the Amazon next Monday, and I'm taking two young women, they're age 28 and 30, that are part of my succession plan to continue to lead these trips to the canopy walkway down there in Peru that will in turn keep the women in the local villages employed, which means a lot to me. I can't just stop doing something that might have repercussions to the local people and their economy. So I have to think through how to operate in this way. My challenge is there's no, say, school that you go to for arbornaut school. There's no specific university that's training people in canopy biology, which is why I said, oh, maybe I need to go to business schools because we know where they are and try to persuade them to fund this. Because I'm not sure by going to every university in the US, I would have people like maybe they study butterflies, or maybe they study, timber production, or maybe they want to study orchids in the tree, but they're not really grounded in this picture of linking the canopy with the economics. And much as I'd love to clone myself, I guess is what you're saying, reproduce the model, it would take another decade or two, and then we'd lose a lot of forests. So
Yeah.
I still feel like getting these walkways engaged quicker, somehow making it a giant, wonderful production like SpaceX, on Earth, would be fantastic. And maybe I need to find someone in Hollywood that would tout it. It's got to have a charismatic leader more than me. I can be the background, but maybe I need to just find, my Leonard DiCaprio or Dolly Parton that would say, hey, this is what we need to do, everybody.
So there's a two parts to this that capture me. One, in terms of a charismatic leader, like you're already on it, right? And I love how you put yourself in the background on this one here. Or like I so I'm gonna take that into account. The the problem is that everything would work, right? Like essentially, it's like if more people know about it, more good things will come, right?
Right.
So it could be Hollywood, it could be business schools, it could be this. Like every single one of these things would work. Like from what you're like from your experience, Meg. Um, and I'm thinking about this when you talk about succession planning and such. I'm thinking about this where it's like, how do we continue to leverage Meg for everything that you already have? Because you have a whole breadth of skill sets that go beyond like you're a complete person in more ways. As much as you're humble in what you like who you are and how you identify, how like the way you show up in the world is all of the things,
I've been
like
to the School of Hard Knocks.
yes, right. And now you came back as a principal. That's what it feels like, that's it. So while I say that because I'm trying to look at this and say when it was easy, right? When this works smoothly, when it works easy, what's happening? And I like and doing it in such a way that it doesn't take Meg's like all of Meg's like charm, charisma, everything like that to get something over the finish line, and instead can actually be replicated or be leveraged by any like whatever succession looks like, whether it's the two individuals or the other people in your field. So tell me about like when this is easy. Maybe even just let us know about like the company that sponsored it in Malaysia. Like help us see
Yeah.
a little more about that.
So I think it's easy when I can get in front of a influential audience and
Mhm.
persuade them about the importance of a tree, because I sure have a story to tell them and I have the facts and I can turn it into a story. And then B, they engage in it, which is really by writing a check so that we can own a property, build a walkway, hire the local people, get an ecotourism project underway that they can be the point of pride for. So, it's education of important people and it's engaging those important people, which which usually is, in their case, funding because they don't have the time. They don't want to train and be me. They don't want to
Yeah.
go up there and find species and name them or something, but they would love to be have part of their overall portfolio say, you know what, I saved a forest, or I helped my community bring in income and hire people because of my ecotourism operation. So I feel that's where I am just by luck. Sometimes I get in the room. I happen to be by luck connected with this guy in Malaysia. And then I happen to go to his alumni meetings at Thunderbird Business School and talk to a few others that were all part of, in the end, a very much bigger project than we even imagined. So that's what I call luck, but I was at the right place at the right time. But I want that to be purposeful and not just luck.
Okay. So I'm hearing two different things here, right? The thing that I did not expect was the fact that this was actually a part of a much bigger project that was going on than what you had imagined. I think that there may be something in there for you, Meg, around that element. Without knowing all the details of it, what changed for me when you said that was, oh, like, is it to go like again with like the bottom up versus top down? Is it to go create demand from people that there, or is it to like go and find like who has a project or a budget or has already figured out how to get their hands on a large sum of money and that has where what you're doing with canopy walks and more actually fits really nicely inside of it
Right.
to help that come to life. So just pointing that out there, like when I say that, what comes to you on that?
Right. Well, so right away I say, oh my gosh, we have a design and a project in the rarest forest type in Brazil called the Mata
Mm,
Atlantica forest, but
mm,
no donor, nobody to write the check. We're so ready to get this project underway and bring the public there, and it's going to be beautiful and fantastic. I just got approached by Nepal. A ecotourism group there wants to build, there's a beautiful forest as you're trekking toward Mount Everest. It's a perfect location for the families waiting for their explorer husbands or for the people when they come back from Everest to stay in these lodges on this forest and build a walkway there. But we have no donor. So they're looking to me, how can you help us find a donor? And I don't really know the door to open in certain places like that. It's just, for me, it's been a random, wonderful opportunity when I find a donor, but I don't have like a business brain that helps me figure that out.
Okay, understood. Okay. What I think I'm getting from you here is like you're like, no, like great things are happening, but it's less by like your intentional design. It's like you're going after things and you're talking about it and you're sharing it with whoever happens to listen, so on and so forth. But it isn't like you're like, oh, we have like an outreach team that is consistently reaching out on behalf of this. We have like our systems, and it feels like randomness right now. Where in my mind, like I used to be a retirement actuary. So like I look at things from like a numerical perspective, and maybe
Yeah,
there's probably an ecological equivalent of this, right? It what seems random is actually just like probability, you know? So it's
right,
like, all right, 1 in 100 of these kind of conversations leads to something here. The question being like, if you can control for have a systematized way to consistently get 100 conversations going on, you're like, I
right,
don't know which one of the 100 it is, but someone in this field is
right.
going to be lining up. Let me check in with you, Meg, because I feel like what I think I'm hearing is like the systematizing of the things that you're doing rather than like it being a little bit more opportunistic and you just being like, how do I just keep
Uh,
creating opportunities? Is that am I
I think
getting that?
that would be correct. Yes.
Okay, all right. So that actually like there's some part of that that like actually simplifies things. I'm like, oh, we're just building a machine here like that,
Uh,
like like okay. So we'll get into some of this here, like we'll have to try and see like there's a there's like a technical component of this here of like this understanding like what are the resources that you have and like how can we go about to um uh, essentially consistently be out there. And the thing that comes from me, Meg, is like how do we not have it be you that's doing this?
I
Um
hear you. I hear you. Right.
yeah, like I like there's a real big part of like you being the face and you like I can see movies being done and you're like on set directing and they're like this is the real life, Meg Lowman, with some other like actors out there like portraying you. I can see that taking place. Um the question for me right now is like it's almost like how you introduced yourself when you first came on here. It was like I'm this and I'm this and I'm this and I'm this and I'm this. And a part of me is like, are you also like in the work that you're doing? In addition to being an arbornaut, are you also the marketing department and like the fundraising department and the grant writer and so on and so forth? Is that the case, or do you actually have a lot of people that are in support of that right now?
I don't have a lot of people, but I do have some people. I have people who love to write grants, and people. I have a great board chair. I have a great board of directors. I have a great marketing lady and a webmaster. So again, nimble, slim, but also dedicated to the cause. But for example, my board chair knows that when we want to talk to a donor, I have to go in and be in the room. She can be great and she's a great support, but nobody can tell the story the way I can because I'm the first and I did it, in a way that was exciting and people love to hear the stories direct from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So there is that issue. Jane Goodall was a friend of mine and she had the same problem. Now she got a whole infrastructure because she got so much funding. Let's face it, apes are much more charismatic than trees, and we used to laugh about that. So she ended up, with these fundraising groups, Roots and Shoots and the Jane Goodall Foundation, that could work in her absence, but they're still struggling now because she's gone and she didn't have a succession plan. There's no Jane 2 and Jane
Mhm.
3. So they're going to be, in a tight spot, say in 5 years to figure that one out. So anyway, it's all kind of interesting in the world of conservation. Whereas in a company, you get a new CEO and everybody claps and says, way cool. We love the new CEO. That's going to be great. And they don't miss the old CEO, put it that way.
Okay, so now what I'm hearing here is so this like we're not going to get to the end. Like, there's a lot of different pieces in it, so I'm like I don't want to put pressure on like in the next 10 minutes I have to like get
Nope.
this in
And
massive.
we only have till 2. I got to
Yeah,
switch gears at 2 o'clock, just so you know.
exactly. So we're gonna start, we're gonna start wrapping up
Yep.
overall, right? So the thing that comes here as I'm hearing this is like, okay, we have their immediate need. This really does keep coming down to succession planning too, though. So it's not because it like what
Yes.
I'm thinking from you, Meg, is that what I think I'm hearing is like it can no longer be like this driven by only me. Like random opportunities come in and like I can make it work. And you can call me in to go in and deliver what's necessary to have people open their checkbooks. But like you're already seeing that like for the work that needs to get done in the longevity and in the short and long term, like this like it not just being you, like creating leverage around you is really where we
Right.
need to be playing, right? Um, oh, there was one other thing that came up here. I might remember it later on and send it over to you. Um, but there's a we can have another conversation about like sitting down and saying, okay, like what does it look like to get like uh, organized around this, given the fact that you already have so much already going on for you in this space. There is it's a shame. The thing that was playing in the back of my mind, I think was something really worth bringing into the conversation. So I'll have to follow up with you afterwards and let you know if it comes back in. Um, I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to push it. I understand where we are, and if you're good with it, I'm going to like spend some time like allow myself to continue to noodle on this and bring some things to
Yeah.
you. Are you good with that,
Sounds
Meg?
great. It sounds perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm heading off to the Amazon anyway, so I
Yeah.
will be out of communicado for a good week or 10 days.
Okay. All right. So that sounds good here. That
But it
let
is
me
the
meditate on it.
longest canopy walkway in the world, and maybe you should come down there.
Well, let me ask you this. This is when you said that it came back to me, right? And so like I live in like the transformational coaching space, and so like there's a lot of things that where we try and find ways to create like different types of excursions and things to help people like experience transformation from a different perspective,
Yes.
right? And so the thought that was coming to me was right now you're talking about like, hey, the work it takes to go and educate people around it. And it sounds like you're going to talks and you're talking to them in like the regular room and they don't even have any trees around them probably. And in
Right.
the rooms that you're talking about there. And like Meg, my question would be like, what would it be like to be able to get them out of that environment to start
I
out
would
with?
love that. I would love that. I do lead trips for National Geographic. I have a ball doing that, but I'd
Okay.
love to have a leadership group. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
It would be
Yeah.
amazing and powerful.
So something that I'll leave you with to go and like maybe put in the back of your mind. I know I have a colleague. She organizes trips around the world for investors to like connect with potential entrepreneurs, right?
Yes. Oh my
And they're
gosh.
already starting in that space there.
Yep.
And I can go and like put a connection there, but like
That would
that would
be
itself,
amazing.
as amazing as it would be, that would still just be like a one-off opportunity for you. And it
Sure.
wouldn't get to like the like what we're talking about, which is the systematizing the element without Meg there, right? And
Right.
so the thing that comes to my mind is there a level above the business schools or like the people who go to the business schools where instead of like trying like instead of going to make a talk, you actually have them like participate in ecotourism wherever they are, and then
Absolutely.
make like work on that engine. There's something that just says like if we can just get them in the treetops, like how much more how much easier will
Absolutely.
this work become?
I think that's huge. It's a huge opportunity because seeing is believing and smelling and observing would be amazing and powerful. But I need someone like your lady who is already in that space because I can't create it myself from
Yeah.
scratch.
No,
But I could
you
bring
need
to the
dozens
table.
of people like my lady.
Exactly. And I would
That's where I
love
want to put us
to,
in. Okay.
4 of those a year. And if I could save all the money or time I spend fundraising
Yeah.
and then worry about the succession, see, I
Yeah.
could pull that in from those kinds of encounters and then be able to dedicate more time to the other successional side of things.
Okay.
It's a
So
wrap.
so we'll do this, Meg. Like it's an ongoing conversation, but like we'll do this here. Meg, what's been as we wrap for today, what's been your biggest insight from today's conversation?
Well, just I guess hoping to connect with someone like you that might in turn connect me to a different room full of people. And I love the idea of taking those people outdoors. I just feel like getting that different perspective, not having you just say to me, how many species have you discovered? Why do we have to save the forest? But just let's get on track and try to attract these other people that aren't in my space to care and to do and to help, with the opportunity to save forests because it truly is uh, critical to the future of the planet, and yet we're so willing to throw it under the rug. So I need someone like you that connects me and helps us connect these dots. So you taught me that. You reminded me how important it is to get out of my conventional space.
There we go. Well, I appreciate you, Meg. We're going to talk for just another minute right after this, but I'm going to end here with Outliers. Outliers, until the next time we talk, be you on purpose. Journey on.